Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. We went a little late on the pre-show, so usually I like to go like 15 minutes early, or that's what we're shooting for. But we only went about 10 minutes, 9 minutes early. And I'm not sure, but Rumble might be having a problem with tonight's stream. I'm hearing that it's a little janky over there at the moment. So it sounds like I have some more work to do. Lovely, lovely. I am the one-ton-hammer, of course, and with me, as always, are my two favorite streamers in the world, Terry D. Mantis.
Hello.
And Jen T. Maxey.
Hello.
How you doing, Jen?
I'm good. I'm just sharing things out. Went on to Twitter just long enough to do that and was like, cringe.
I've decided when I do the show, set up the show, that I'm going to tweet it out. I did that last week and I did it again this week. So if you want to retweet me and to save yourself some time, that's fine.
Well, Costin also sent me some articles, so I'm like,
Yeah, actually we're gonna look at one of them. As a matter of fact.
Okay, good. Then I can turn off Twitter.
I hate
Costin, I hate the Twitters.
Hate the Twitters. We should probably say hello to everybody. Starting over on Rumble, Brainer Brius Hastick. Am I saying that right? If I'm not saying that right, don't be angry with me, all right? It's not a forte of mine, being able to pronounce names. Also joining us on YouTube, Hefke stopped in. I had to send her a bunch of hugs, but she was here early. Lisa, hello. OG Costin is out there, and Cynic has joined us. Kashol is out there. Hey, Mike R. And of course, I'm sure people will be stopping by as the show goes. We've got a couple of things for tonight on the list of things that we could talk about if we get into it. Misdemeanor. This is about Trump and him getting, was it 32 or 34 misdemeanor charges thrown at him? And they're trying to make him to felonies. We could talk about that. I don't know how interested you are in that, because it's been going around for a week now. So,
well, it's probably not a bad thing to get a little bit of it out, because like it's not just that it's been a week, it's just they keep bringing it up. Like every time they think it's been dropped or that people have forgotten that they've been doing this, they bring it back up.
Yeah. Another thing on the list tonight is STCA. It's the Safe Third Country Agreement. It's a 204 migration agreement between the states and Canada, saying that since 2004, if you want to cross the border to go from one country to another, you have to stay in the country that is safe. You can't go across the border into the United States if you're in Canada, if you're an illegal immigrant, because you're already in a safe country. There's no reason for you to go to the United States, and vice versa. You're in the United States and you're a legal immigrant, there's no reason for you to go to Canada. This is a 2004 thing. So what's happening is people wanting to make the journey are going across illegally. Sound familiar? So there's some talk about that. So, and then the third thing we have, because I want to make sure I got Canada and Australia in tonight, A to Z. It looks like AstraZeneca, which was distributed in the UK and Australia, never made it to the United States. As of today, the AstraZeneca vector virus vaccine is discontinued in Australia. You can't get it anymore.
I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest.
Considering what I've heard about, I think I just triggered Siri. Considering what I've heard about it from Dr. Campbell, me too. Because it's not an mRNA. Can never get that right. mRNA. mRNA, yeah, mRNA. It's not an mRNA. It's a vector virus vaccine. So it's different than the Pfizer and Moderna, but it is very much similar to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in the States. So this is weird. I'm getting YouTube's telling me the stream is healthy, but I'm also getting a buffering on my machine. Let me refresh and see if it goes away.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Hi, Johnny.
More duct tape. I did a refresh and everything's okay. It still says the stream is healthy.
Mhm.
I think I might know what's going on with Rumble. I gave Rumble 8,000 bytes of upstream bandwidth, and that was just a suggestion by the Rumble staff, but they never had anybody doing 4K on their platform using OBS. So they didn't really know a good number to use. I might have to give it more than 8K. I might have to give it
That makes
10K.
sense.
And
Yeah.
technically, I could go over to OBS and stop the stream on Rumble and then change it to 10K and start it back up again. But I'm kind of a little leery with if you do that with YouTube, YouTube's fine. It just buffers for a second, then it picks right back up again. But I don't think
Yeah.
the algorithm for Rumble is quite as forgiving.
Mhm.
On the other hand, last week when we had a power outage, Rumble kind of tried to keep going, much more than YouTube did. So I don't know, 6 of one, half dozen the other. Johnny Hellcat's in chat, and
Yeah.
Spudgun has joined us. Johnny's show is on tomorrow night. My fellow Minions host. Did I miss anybody? Everything's scrolling by so quickly.
Mr. Black Tier, Dr. Frankenstein's ghost, is there as well. I don't know if you mentioned
Hi,
him.
Tier.
Nope. He was saying something about are you joining Johnny tomorrow, Terry? Because that's awesome.
No, Tier is talking about the Pokemon game that I'm going to be playing with him after the stream.
Oh, okay. I can't because I work tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning, so I have to be up at 3:30 in the morning, so I can leave at 4:30 in the morning.
Actually, I'm right with you on that one. I think we're going to end pretty quickly after the show at 10 o'clock. I'm probably going to drop off real quick too, because for some reason I couldn't sleep very well last night and ended up getting up at 6 o'clock this morning.
Hey,
6 o'clock a.m. this morning for me. That's really early. Usually I'm up like 9 or so. So 9 o'clock p.m. has rolled around and I'm starting to already get tired. So it's like, I know what's going to happen after stream.
I always get up at 6. So that's nothing out of the ordinary for me.
Yeah. I'm usually up around 9:30, maybe 10 if I'm really tired or something like that. So for me to be up that early, and I was awake. There was no two ways about it. It wasn't like I was groggy or anything. I was wide awake. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. So yeah, by the time 10 o'clock rolls around, I'm gonna be hard pressed to maintain my consciousness.
I think the only way I could wake up at 10 in the morning is if I went to bed at like 6 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Because as soon as it gets to somewhere between 5:30 and 6:30, depending on time of year, I'll wake up and be completely unable to get back to sleep. It's just, I guess because I was working like office hours for so long, it's just I got so used to waking up at that time that I still do it.
Yeah, it's true. When I was working, I would get up much earlier. I mean, not after I retired, I would still, my body was conditioned to get up that early, and you just, for a couple of years after that, I would just get up automatically. I couldn't stop it. But eventually my body realized, hey, he doesn't have an alarm clock anymore. So Opinionated Scotsman, hello, welcome to the stream.
Hi, Scotty.
I think for me, it was a case of I started staying up later rather than waking up later. Like, because normally I'd go to bed at, like 10 o'clock and be on the reasoning that I need to sleep before work. Whereas now it doesn't matter. Like, I'll go to bed when I get tired, which is still usually only about 11. But, it's like, if I need to stay up for some reason, there's no associated problem the next day because I don't do anything. So it's like, as long as I'm able to talk into a microphone, if I happen to be streaming, I'll be fine.
Well, it's the weirdness of my shifts, because it really is just a short stalking shift. But despite how short it is, it really does feel like they've smushed 8 hours worth of work into 3.5 to 4.5 hour shifts. So like you go home feeling like, you feel like you've done an 8-hour shift, but you haven't. But the problem with this store right now is it's a hot spot. It's turned into a mini San Francisco. I've said that to my manager, like the manager of the store, because she was pulling her hair out because of this weekend. Like they had sorry, Lisa, but we're not sure because we're not sure. Could have been a she, could have been a he, we're not sure. Sometimes you just don't know. But they walked around for 3 hours with a cart and slowly folded things into slots and then slowly started to put items into a hat and into pockets and into a backpack and folding them up all nice and neat. And 3 hours later, they went to go get another cart, and my supervisor at the time went and took the cart that they filled up and went and put that in the back so they could put that shit away later. Took their bag, took all that shit out, and then took their hat, took all that shit out, and then returned them to whoever, what they were. We were not sure still. And it was $2,000 worth of shit. And this is 3 hours where this guy is spending on this person. And I hate to break it to you, this person isn't alone. There's other people in this store who are doing smaller thefts and they're just leaving. You know, this is just the spotlighter who's like taking up more time. They came back twice, tried to do it twice, and they catch and release. So you're like, oh, so even if we have insurance, eventually that runs out, right? So they cut our hours. So that's less people on the floor. They sent all our other managers to the new store that they opened up. Well, half of them fled because they were like, well, that shit's sinking because they won't give us proper security. And it's like, it's not like they can beat anybody up. All they can really do is take the shit out of their pockets and then send them on their way. But that's still better than nothing. That, and some people are, well, we had a stabbing downtown. Homeless. Stabbing people downtown. Like, I don't know how many people they took out. I didn't want to look that far into it because I'm like, oh, good. I feel like I'm in the US now. There was reasons why I wanted to visit people but hesitated because there's a difference between understanding violence and then.
And if it was a stabbing, it was like living in England, not America.
No. But all the same, I'm just like, oh, okay. I still love my job. Like I said, I have a lot of really good opportunities there because my management's kind of old and they're in training mode, and I'm like, information and ability to grow in a field, make a little bit more money. And they're all like, well, in all honesty, we don't give a shit anymore. Like, they still do because they do, but yeah. How about you guys? How's living in Australia and the US? How are you doing? You guys have crime rates, but you live in different places, so it doesn't always hit you.
We had what would be a very comfortable temperature just 2 days ago. I'm not sure what the Celsius number is, but it was 71 degrees here, and it was gorgeous, sunny, a light breeze. So it's not blowing leaves everywhere. Up in the mountains, when it gets into the hotter parts of summer, you get a lot of gnats and stuff like that. But because it's so early in the season, there's no gnats, a light breeze, bright sunny clouds. We're close to the sky. We're closer to the sky. So the big blue sky above you. It was very nice to see after a long winter, because I'm at an elevation. It's 7 degrees colder here than it is in the valley generally. Spudgun says 21.6 degrees Celsius is the conversion. So, it was 21 degrees here, and it was just, man, I wish there was
21 is a good temperature.
There's more days coming up. But it was 55 today, so not quite 71, but it was, once you get that first warm day come by, after that, the days that were so cold before are not quite as cold because you can feel summer coming. So it doesn't bother you as much. The cold isn't like, oh, it's another cold day because it's been 15 cold days in a row. No, we've had a warm day. Now it's just, well, this is a little cool, but it's going to be warmer. It switches your perspective a little bit. So
yeah,
that was nice. I did absolutely nothing but sit on the porch.
Yeah,
I have so much work to do in the house, and I sat on my ass all day.
I do think it's interesting because even as someone who doesn't go outside all that often, I do still care about the weather because like a sunny day feels so different to like a rainy one, even from inside. Just the bright, like the natural light coming in makes things like more positive and cheerier than like nonstop rain. it's interesting how much it changes. Even if you're not in the weather, it still has a big effect on things.
I opened up the front and back door, so it's a nice cross breeze through the house, and have bay windows in the kitchen and in the living room. And next to the bay windows on the right and left sides, extreme far left and right sides, these little handles, you can open up the handles, and it's a screen. So when it hit 71, I was like, I'm opening up the entire house, man. And it just, and of course, the guy down the street is burning wood, or paper or wood. Usually it's wood, because there's still a lot of people who are cutting down trees. So they'll cut down trees, make firewood, and they'll use some during the winter in the house. But whatever they have extra just sitting around, they'll just burn it in a like a fire pit kind of deal, and that wafts through the entire area. So you have that smell of, partially leaves and partially wood, and it's just a very calming smell. Very
okay.
Yeah, it's a nice smell. So it kind of added to the day. It was a really nice day.
If I can smell smoke, it usually means something's on fire somewhere in the general region.
Not in a good way.
No. It means something's burning down.
At this time of the year, I'd have to say the same thing.
Well,
during the summer, that could be true too.
Yeah, I'm not going to be smelling smoke until summer, so it's like still a long time before that'll be an issue. But yeah, summertime, if I smell smoke, it means something's on fire and like property damage kind of thing, or the risk of.
And it's weird. Those kind of fires usually don't smell very good. It's not like the smell I'm talking about.
No. They smell awful.
They kind of like stinky, and they smell like caustic and everything like that. I was
yeah. They smell awful.
I flew down to Florida for a couple of days to do some work for the company I was working at the time. So they flew me down to Florida, and they were having some kind of forest fire thing going on, and it stunk. You didn't want to go outside. It was like, I'm staying inside. This smells bad. And it started like 4 hours before I got there, and they put it out completely just after I left.
Now there is an exception to the fire rule up here, depending on where you live and who your neighbors are. Every once in a while, you get an all year round guy who's like, I don't give a shit if it's minus 34 outside. I'm still going to use my barbecue, and I'm going to grill this, whatever the fuck it is that I'm grilling. And it always smells delicious. So sometimes I have nice smells too. Alberta beef is nice. It's expensive though. I can't afford it.
It still makes me laugh that when I was doing the phone surveys, they just give you like a suburb that you're meant to call that night. And one time the suburb that we were calling was currently on fire. And surprisingly, not too many people were interested in taking a survey on state politics while their suburb was burning down around them. That was not the top priority they had at the time.
Wow. And we don't really have forest fires up here in Pennsylvania. Every time I've ever heard of forest fires, it's almost always California or Florida. Very rarely is it anywhere up northeast. I guess I'm lucky.
Have you seen that billboard meme where it's like only blank can say forest fires, and someone's written in the name Josh?
Well, it's my buddy from California really nailed it home with me, because he's the type to force me to use Wikipedia. And he's like, so have you ever looked up how many things in California are naturally growing here are meant to be on fire? Like that's how they reproduce. And then they brought in plants that also like to burn. The eucalyptus, that shit too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all of California's always kind of been on fire. Like it's kind of the nature of the state. And then you have the rich people like using all the excess extra water for stupid shit like golf courses and pools.
Priorities.
Yes. So, yeah. No kidding. I was more fascinated with them having the snow. And he wasn't. He was like very disenfranchised by there being snow. And he really wished people would just stay home when there was snow.
I've been monitoring Rumble as we've been talking, and it's absolutely fine for me.
Oh, let me go check
So I don't know what Hasnick was running into. I'm not having any problems at all. Of course, when I do that, when I bring up Rumble or YouTube to look at this stream, the chat bubbles around our icon stop working until I put it away. So if anybody noticed it, don't worry. Nothing's broken. Everything's all right. Mr. Adam's in the stream.
Hi, Adam.
Hey, Adam. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. Now our chat bubble should go back to working again. But yeah, Rumble seems to be okay. So maybe I won't make any changes there after all.
Cool.
So
Trump, I don't have avocados.
That's isn't California the only state that supplies the United States with avocados? Isn't it all in California?
I have no idea.
Pretty sure it is, because
yeah, if it doesn't come from California, it's Mexico or South America or something.
I heard it was Pierce, not Pierce Brosnan, the other guy, the guy from the UK. What's his name? Pierce Morgan.
Oh, Piers Morgan.
Yeah, he was having an argument with a vegan, and he was saying, and she was a big climatologist, and he was saying, you know, you're a climatologist. He says, you vegans, all you do is eat avocado all the time. He says, you have it flown from the California coast into the UK on huge tankers that ruin our atmosphere just so you can have your stupid avocados. And she was stunned. She didn't. Please looked at him with big eyes. She knew what to say.
Well, he's not wrong. And it's not just avocados. It's everything, especially the UK and Europe. Like, they act like everything they get in there is stuff that they make themselves. And I'm like, no. They export too, but they import a lot of the shit. They've always imported a lot of the shit that they use. And you can't just throw that at England like, oh, well, they're an island, so they're out to lunch. Like, no, they all do that. Like, at best, okay, yes, regionally speaking, they grow their own stuff, but they don't grow everything. Tropical fruit comes from tropical places. You can grow it with greenhouses and shit.
Seems pretty apparent, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can grow coconut trees, but not as well as you're going to get in a place where they grow coconut trees. It's the same as banana leaves. Like, you talk to people who eat that kind of stuff, and yeah, they're like, I wish they grew it here because then I could get it for cheaper.
But my 3 favorite things on the planet: pineapple, coconut. I love that stuff.
Like,
comes mostly from Hawaii, I think.
I love cooking, and like the thing with loving cooking is trying foods that I don't have a chance to really try. Like, I don't have the money to go on those food tours. I eyeball the people who have especially the YouTubers who did. I'm like, man, you have no idea how lucky you are to just travel everywhere and eat food and have everyone just so excited so they can feed you.
Spud Gun in chat basically has the same opinion of Piers Morgan that I do. He's a prick, but sometimes he's funny.
Well, it's also that there's a point to be had, because a lot of these people really are hypocrites. Like, don't get me wrong, he is a little bit too, because he's stubborn about guns. I don't know shit about guns. I admit that. But I also admit that, yeah, I'd like to have a world where you could keep the guns out of the hands of bad people. Here's the thing. That's never going to exist. That's right.
There's always going to be evil. People don't seem to understand that. You can't legislate evil. Evil is going to happen no matter what.
No. I saw a great video about what to do. You just say, do not approach me. Do not approach me.
You saw that too.
They have to leave you alone. Mm-hmm. They have to.
You know what really, really bothered me about her and women like her and everyone who was like, well, she's not in the wrong. Okay, listen, it might have just been that she dropped a purse. She might have just dropped the keys. What if the guy was in distress?
But it might have been just he wanted to talk to her. I mean,
maybe.
It's the middle of the day in public. There's nothing wrong with a guy going up to a woman and saying, hi, how are you?
But it's this mentality that everyone approaching you.
This is feminism, Jen.
Like,
feminism has wound women up to think that men are all predators and they're all going to kill you as soon as they possibly can. That's what feminism has done to women. And that's why this isn't the first time I've seen videos like this. There was a girl driving a car, a guy honked at her, and she got out of the car and said, "Why are you following me?" Blah, 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 blah. And he pointed to her gas tank and said,
Yeah.
"Your gas tank
petrol
lid
pump
is
was still in
open."
there.
Or your petrol pump was open or the gas tank lid was open. And she was like,
No.
"Oh."
She had like the pump from the gas station
Yeah.
was still in the petrol tank.
Yeah, and another one, a girl pulled up next to the guy, and he said, "Excuse me, ma'am." He says, "I have a boyfriend," and he says, "You also have a flat tire." And she says to him, "Well, can you help me fix it?" And he says, "Get your fucking boyfriend." And there was another one where a girl got the same kind of attitude, and he's like, "Your phone's on top of the car.
Yeah.
All we're trying to
and
do is fucking help you, and you're just like angry."
And all these women, and I hate that I have to. I'm sorry, Lisa. This isn't directed at you guys as the trans community, but
No.
here's the thing. I've heard the odd story because that's how the internet works. I have heard the odd story where it was a trans man, or sorry, trans woman. I get that a little bit confused because
We all
there's
do.
penis involved, but they were the ones who did the rape, and the same women who are like, "Oh my God, the men." Gaslit those women, and we're like, well, there was something you did, it was something you must have been the one at fault. These same women have been pointing fingers at all these men. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those men don't end up deciding to go trans. I'm not saying that men approaching women, this reaction that they're having towards men, it's understandable why so many guys who might just be incels now think that they're trans when they're not.
Yeah.
Because women are terrifying when they aren't.
I mean, someone on Twitter was saying, "Why are so many men transitioning?" It's like, well, men are like evil in the eyes of society. Women are wonderful, and trans people are gods. So I mean,
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, what's the incentive not to if you're going to get treated like a hero for transitioning instead of being treated as, evil incarnate?
And it's just it is very upsetting. And here's the thing, it's actually really made I'm gonna rag as a single woman who wouldn't mind if men approached me, as long as honestly you can read the room a little bit. Like, in all honesty, I can't help my own instincts either. If you're acting creepy, my instincts tell me to run away.
People need
Good
basic
instincts.
social skills.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna fight that. And it's not to be mean to somebody's feelings. It's just to keep you from going missing.
Intuition's an important thing.
Yeah, but I don't want men to be afraid of women either. I don't want even if it was a guy just coming up to someone to talk to them for a second, ask a question, what's the time, whatever.
Well, even if the guy thought she was hot and just wanted to hit on her, even that in the middle of the day in a public space is not that,
Why would you be? Yeah, why would you be that threatened?
Mm-hmm.
I can understand it if it's.
I'm not interested. Once he makes his intentions clear.
If the circumstances were a little different, I can understand it. It's nighttime.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You start making changes, then okay, then I can understand you being a little panicked. But in the middle of the day, there's people everywhere. What the fuck?
But also, the guy was 10 meters or 30 feet away, and he said, "Excuse me," from that distance. Like, if he had, sinister intentions, he's not going to declare himself in advance. He's going to sneak up on you, and he did everything he could to make it clear he was non-threatening.
I so know what I would do in that situation. I'd walk right towards her, and then walk within 3 inches, walk right past her, and say hi, and keep going.
No, I mean, a lot of people
so humiliating.
No, a lot of people on Twitter were saying that's exactly what they would do, just out of spite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I've never really had that reaction. Like, I've had reactions where, okay, I'm on the platform at 4:30 in the morning, and this homeless person is walking by, and I've had multiple homeless people walk by. The body gestures, the way they were moving, their hands I was worried they were reaching into a pocket for a knife.
Yeah.
So I went and I walked over to the part of the platform where there's a button that says the help button. And then I put my hand in my pocket so it made it look like I had my own weapon. I didn't, obviously. Hard to get those. I mean, I could probably rig some stuff together that's a little bit better than what I've got. But,
Don't get in
I
trouble.
still, that's just basically it. I don't want to get myself into trouble. I do have a hairspray can, though. It's a little piece of shit thing, but I'm like, it'll still sting.
You guys can't even do that, though. You can't have mace or pepper spray or anything. You're not allowed to have that.
No, you can have dog spray, and I think that's about it. So,
America, we can have bear spray. It doesn't matter here, man. Spray anything you want to spray.
But
America.
I do what little things that I can do, and I guess the buttons are, I guess the I don't know, like it did seem to work, so at least I got that much. But I
I'm sorry. I'm reading chat. It's making me laugh. Not laughing at what you're saying. Cannibalistic
no,
said
you're
rolling
good.
pin with nails. I was like, yeah, there's a good one.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Gunsky's here. Show's over.
The only other thing I can say that I've ever done where I hesitated a little bit, it was more of just the time of the morning. Like, yet again, I'm going to work. It's always at 4:30 in the morning. And this random guy, I guess he was going to work, and he just walks up to me. And, he might have just been being friendly, but because of the time, the fact that he came out of fucking nowhere and it's icy as shit around, I'm like, okay, I don't know that you would necessarily do that for a dude, but it is a little bit, okay, it's a little bit early in the morning to be like coming out of nowhere when I can't really see you very well. So like, I'm going to work. And that was it. I just went. But he made it seem like me not wanting to stop and talk to him was like, I was a mega bitch for it. I'm like, 4:30 in the fucking morning, dude. I got to go to work. That's kind of, so I left. Like,
One thing that surprised me was there was a lot of people calling themselves libertarians who were agreeing with the psycho woman that men should never, under any circumstances, approach women in parking lots. I was like, that's insane. Like, I can understand the crazy lefties because that's, that's their ideology, that men are evil. But people claiming to be sensible are still going, no, there's no reason for a man to ever approach a woman. It's like, that's insane.
No, I don't agree with that. Like, I mean, like I said with my situation, like, yeah, I don't think the timing was really a good time for a person to approach me. But I was also in a hurry. So, like,
yeah,
I don't have time to just stop for somebody either.
Yeah,
but if it was
you're not obligated to talk to everyone that wants to talk to you, but I'm just saying freaking out like they're going to rape you just because they said excuse me from 30 feet away might be an overreaction.
Just a little bit. And to be fair, on the same week that I was going to work, I stumbled upon a deer. It came out of nowhere either. It also scared the shit out of me because one minute I'm about to walk onto the platform and then all of a sudden there's a male fucking deer and I could tell. Trust me, I could tell. I also suspect that people were feeding this deer because he tried to follow me onto the platform. And I'm like, man, I'd take you home, but my dad would make stew out of you.
There you go, free food. You should have kept it.
I haven't had venison in a while.
But it was so sweet.
I haven't had it ever.
It's good. It's a unique taste. You can tell it's not beef. But,
I mean, I'd be more than happy to try it. It's just nowhere around me sells it. So.
Well, I mean, we're different continents. Do you guys even have deer? I mean, we don't have emus. Oh, I said
Outside
a bad word. Sorry.
Zoo, I would think no. Outside of a zoo, no. But it's also...
I don't know if we have deer or not.
You might not, because Australia is kind of... You're very strict about putting your foot down about allowing animals from outside of Australia.
Yeah,
I think just because
very good
history
reason.
of... I mean, it's because you did... like everybody's had the history of, I had dogs and cats and didn't think anything of it.
Well, that's kind of silly. It's not like you don't have plenty of adversaries out there that will be happy to wipe them off the planet. If I were to bring deer down there and try to populate the area, they would be slaughtered. There's so many animals down there that would just love to eat deer all day. They wouldn't stand a chance.
I make it
No,
clear, Frosted. Nobody has tried to rape me. Scared the shit out of me and approached me maybe at an inappropriate time of the morning.
No, but it disrupts the balance, whether they're the prey or the predator. If alligators now have deer as a source of food, they won't be killing something else, and that something else will suddenly explode. But like introducing a new species to such a closed ecosystem is always going to be dangerous.
Well, it's like they introduced a frog because they thought the frog would deal with an insect that was a problem,
Yeah,
and then they had an
toads.
and then the cane toads became a problem because they weren't just eating that bug. And
yeah,
it took
the frogs were worse than the cane beetles by far.
Mm-hmm. It's playing God with nature when you actually haven't really observed what you're looking at.
Well,
and it's not like people haven't gotten a lot better. It's why I respect Australia for putting the foot down, because yeah, we've made mistakes. Let's learn from some of them. We have them up here too. Like something as small as a shrimp released into water can fuck up a lake for 20 to 30 years. That's all it takes. And we've had that happen before. Like in Ontario and it went all the way to the US, we had fish, those flying weird fish that you guys still have. Yeah. And you have people going down rivers with their boats and and they're not really good fish eating either because they're all bony.
Apparently one benefit to the cane toads is you can get high by licking them. Yeah. It poisons you. Like it's not a good idea, but apparently a lot of like Queensland teenagers get high by licking the backs of cane toads.
Yeah, would be me. Ugh.
Well, at least it proves that you can't make a toad or a frog turn into a prince,
There's been a lot of people attempting to fix problems by playing, I wouldn't say playing God, but certainly playing fast and loose with the ecology to try to solve problems. And I don't think I've ever heard it be a successful. I never think I've ever heard a successful outcome. I mean, this is what Gene Roddenberry based the Prime Directive on. They tried to do something in his state where he grew up. I forget, I don't remember what state it was in. They tried to do something, and it had a disastrous effect too. They eventually recovered from it, but that's where he thought of the whole idea of Star Trek's Prime Directive of non-interference with something that you don't know what you're doing, kind of deal.
Yeah, for sure.
And that made it into Star Trek. It's the same thing, and I feel very strongly with that because I see what happens when ecologists try to do it. People you think would know better. And then we try to influence other countries with our money. Hey, we're the United States. We're going to give you this. If you give us that, we'll give you money, blah, 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 blah. And we bribe them to let us do things to their country. Man, don't interfere with other cultures. If Uganda wants to hate on gays or trans, don't go to Uganda. Stay here. Stay in the States. We love you. Don't go there, kind of deal. If you're gay, don't go to Saudi Arabia. Just unless you have built-in wings, don't go there. Stay here with us.
I thought you were going to say if Uganda if Uganda wants to hate on gay people, they've probably been to California.
Well, it's like several people have said. A lot of this is the response to what people are seeing over here. Like if this is what this has done to the Western world, and we've really been seen as really strong.
I'll be right back.
The last 100 years, we've been seen as being super strong, yes. and to see us falling like that. And I don't entirely blame the gay community. I blame every community, to be honest. Every community is responsible for this because there's nothing wrong with being accepting of people who don't live entirely the way that I do. But there's some parts of this that we should have been calling out from the get-go. Like the stuff that's insanity should have been called out a long time ago. And it's not because we're being cruel. It's actually, when you think of it as like the Emperor's clothing, at what point do you start pointing out that dudes are walking around naked? All right. And here's the thing. Lisa's not wrong. There's so many people who are just diagnosing themselves with everything. And I understand that I even fall under that category because I do think I might be autistic.
No, no,
I
no.
shouldn't be diagnosing myself.
WebMD is far better than any real doctor ever will be. Thank you very much.
But at the same time, though, I understand the need to understand yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that route either. But I do think that the way that we've been pushing this on everything and the way that it's blown up everywhere, there's too many people who are ignorant on the subject. Like, I like to think that I know a lot because I talk to a lot of people. I listen to a lot of people. I try to listen to people that I don't agree with. You know, I've been listening to a lot of the talks where, you know, people are exchanging information. I think it should be limited to adults.
Oh,
I
sure.
think right now, until we understand more about what's really going on, it really should be limited to adults. I'm not saying that kids going through psychiatric care shouldn't be given care, but any of the stuff that's medical, I think if I was trans, I would even be saying this because they are playing Frankenstein with children. And I think a lot of the reason they're doing it, and it comes from a lot of the stuff that's coming from the sports, you know, because, well, you know, if you went through male puberty, this is the thing, Terry. If you've gone through male puberty, that's where they stop you from doing a lot of these sports now. Like that's even the Olympics have banned you from doing it if you've gone through it. So now you've got parents who are, or you know, the ones with the biproxy, and you've got the trans activists who are like, well, now we have to work on the kids. No.
I think puberty blockers should be reserved for very specific medical conditions. Like if you have a medical condition that needs, you know, whatever puberty blockers contain, if you like have some medical condition from birth and that's the only way for you to survive, then sure. But a kid saying, you know, I want to be pretty. Oh, well, he's a girl now. That's where I think it's
Lupron does have a reason to exist.
Yes.
Lupron is used for prostate cancer. That's what it was developed for. That's the intent for it. They also use it as a chemical castration for people who are, you know, rapists and that kind of stuff. So it's off label there. This whole thing of treating kids with it.
Yeah, I knew that like puberty blockers would serve some medical purpose. That's like why they were designed. I just didn't know what exactly they were used for in the like positive sense, as opposed to just fucking with kids.
It's used for prostate cancer. That's why it was developed specifically with that in mind. When they were putting it together, they were like, okay, this is a problem. We need a solution. Let's come up with a compound. So they came up with Lupron, and it does work to some degree. Yes. It does assist with it. It's not a savior. It's only like 30% effective, but hey, 30%. And if you've got prostate cancer, you'll take those numbers, you know? And then you find out that usually doing this causes the adverse affection of, well, now you can't have kids anymore. But you know, if you're worried about prostate cancer, I don't care, you know, that's fine with me. I just don't let me die, you know, kind of deal. So you're okay with that. But then they, you know, knowing that what it does, now they're giving it to kids, and that's out of bounds.
And the last thing I got to say on this, and I'm not saying this to attack anyone, especially not our trans friends, but the other thing they need to stop doing, especially with the children, is telling them that becoming trans is going to make them a woman. Because at the end of the day, if I had dysmorphia and I was a child and you told me that, but then reality really hits, that's when the depression actually would lead to danger. That is where I would be concerned, because you are fully inventing imagination land with a child. That's
why the 41% statistic exists.
And it's one thing for an adult who understands all this stuff. Like, it's got to be heartbreaking to know that. And I don't bring that up not knowing that. But you can't fill somebody's head that young with that kind of a la-la land, because that's an absolute trap. Don't do that to a child. I don't have a problem with an adult doing what they need to do to deal with their problems, because that's an adult dealing with their problems, you know. And
just one thing, you probably shouldn't use the word trap. I know what you meant, but people will take that out of context.
Well, they will, because I use trap for everything. It's not just people. Sometimes a trap is actually a noose on the ground.
Hey, Frosted, welcome to chat. I think honestly, I think a lot of parents just can't handle the fact that their child might be gay.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of that. So anyway, what were we talking about? We talking about Lupron?
Yeah.
I came in on Lupron. Is that what we were talking about?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Corsten in chat is saying that one of the legitimate uses of puberty blockers is if you have puberty at the age of 5, which is like precocious puberty, they would give you puberty blockers because obviously you're not meant to be experiencing that yet.
Yeah.
So that's another, legitimate use for the drugs. But
Yeah.
all
that stuff is all off brand, but it is effective for to treat a lot of things that they come up with have a lot of benefits off brand to do other things than what they were designed to do. I mean,
from what I hear, wasn't aspirin designed?
I was just going to say that.
Blood thinner?
I was just about to say that you take aspirin, for example, it was supposed to be a blood thinner. It was supposed to be, that was the whole, and then they were like, oh, this has some analgesic properties. You could stop headaches with this. Hey, look at this new headache medication. And that's why low dose aspirin is a good thing, because even though it's low dose, that's the analgesic part that's low dose. The blood thinning part is still the same. So if you need to be on blood, say you had a stroke or a heart attack or something like that, and you need to be on blood thinners, they'll almost always have you on low dose aspirin.
Makes sense.
But aspirin works different than blood thinners. Although it has a blood thinning capability, they will usually give you a blood thinner and aspirin as well.
It's the same with ibuprofen. That's an anti-inflammatory, but it also works on headaches.
Yep. That's another one. Yeah, a friend of mine used to use it for its anti-inflammatory reason. He's like, I got to stop taking this because I'm going to get to the point where it's not going to do anything for me anymore. What happens if I hurt myself? I don't have any choice but to take aspirin instead. I can't take ibuprofen because by the time I actually hurt myself and I need it for its analgesic properties, I'll be immune to it, kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So
now the ones I'm really worried about, and I'm going to pick on the trans men a little bit. So I am approving of the team for at least taking a shot at playing against the men. And I hope they keep trying. They got 1 goal out of 8, and they probably pushed themselves to get that 1 goal. That's impressive. But the reality is that if you're pumping up girls with the idea that they are, could it be just as physically strong as men? They might be able to push themselves to the point where, they might be able to take on some men, but that's a rare woman. I really mean that. It's not just a genetics thing. It's a mentality thing. The women who become strong women, like body lifters or, the fighters, they can't just take on a man. They've proven that before, but even still, like maybe the odd woman could get a check-in. I don't know. But
Pearl from Just Pearly Things, she says like she's a basketball player and like she's pretty big for a woman. She's like 5'10", and she's like
no, she's 6
straight up
foot.
admits
She's 6 foot. I heard her say it on her stream.
Okay, I knew she was like between 5'10" and up. I knew she was around that.
She said it on her stream, and then she also said it in that that was it Jubilee special? Was it Jubilee or was it Kataro? Who was it? It was some kind of.
You mean the Vice thing?
Vice. I knew it was one of those stupid people. But yeah, in the Vice thing, she was talking about how she was a volleyball player, and how she said volleyball. she just can't be better. She can't just grow muscle kind of deal and just be better than the men. I'm already 6 foot, and I still get my ass handed to me. But yeah, keep going.
Well, it's just
Spidey's saying the same thing. Volleyball, not basketball.
Yeah,
but it's it's the same thing. Like I support the idea of women trying, because there's the frustration of wanting to see where you're at. That men are probably going to be stronger than you. You might have the odd game where maybe he's just having an off day. He's got a headache. I don't know. Maybe he's having his mansplaining day. I don't know. But most of the time the man's going to win. But I can understand wanting to try, because women still have a competitive bone. The girls who play those sports absolutely have a competitive bone, but they want to win. They want to win sometimes. So yeah, they want to play against other girls where they know the competition is at the level where they're going to have a good game. Doesn't mean that they don't want to play with their friends that are male sometimes, and they do. And they probably have the odd time where they get the odd shot in, and they're like, yeah, I got a shot in. Do they always win those games? No, they don't. Most of the time, they probably don't.
Yeah. I just saw, you ever hear of a YouTube creator named Jay Hall?
No.
No. He does videos kind of on the subject of men and women. He had a video today where he had 4 women's relay distance runners. It's 1,000 meter. It was 1,000 meter 4-person relay. That was their specialty. And they were making fun of the football players, telling them that they were slow, And of course the guys' egos are not going to listen to that. So the women challenged them to 1,000 meter relay. 4 football players, not track stars, just football players. Granted, they have explosive speed too. Yeah. Against these girls who are trained in nothing but this specific thing, 1,000 meter relay. And of course, the guys destroyed them.
Oh, of course.
And then the girls said, "Well, let's do it again because women have more stamina than men do." And the guys beat them by more. And and Jay Hall's, he kind of laughs at things, but then he gets serious about them. So he laughs at, the stupidity of it. Look, ladies, don't be stupid. Guys are a different breed. You just don't understand. But he gets serious and he says, I hate seeing this kind of stuff because all it does is divide men and women. Instead of saying, I'm better than you, instead of going back and forth, he says, why don't we just work together and do the things that we're best at, and that's always his message at the end. But to watch it actually happen, he is laughing as it's happening.
Yeah, of course.
So
I do think it's funny that John McEnroe got in trouble for saying that Serena Williams was the best female tennis player.
Yeah.
And like, why did you say female? Why not just the best players? Like, because she's not.
And somebody made a clip of that and then put another clip on where Serena Williams was on Jimmy.
Letterman.
Was it Letterman or was it Fallon? I don't remember who it was.
Oh, I think I thought it was Letterman, but
one of them. Late night talk show host. In any case, she's like, I don't want to play this guy. I don't want to play them. He would destroy me. So even she knows. She knows the difference between men and women because it's her job to know what her opponent is going to be like. They study each other. They know she does this on this move and she does that on that move, and they anticipate. It's a big part of the game, so they study their opponents. It's the smartest thing to do is to study the person that you're going to be competing against. You don't want to go in blind. So, I mean, she knows I go up against a guy. And that was McEnroe's thing. He said she was like if you put her up against everybody, she's like, 400, not number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, the average tennis player, male professional tennis player in the top 1,000 is going to have a chance against her.
Yeah.
And if you play men's rules where the game can go 5 sets instead of the women's rules, which is only 3 sets.
3. Yeah.
You could play competitively and she's going to go into the 4th set, never having been there before. And if it's still a tie, she's going into a 5th set that she's never been in before. You know what I'm saying? So stamina or no stamina, she's just not used to doing that.
But Scotsman points out that she got beaten by a man who's like ranked 200th in the world. It's like the best woman in the world got beaten by the 200th best man. It's like to highlight the difference between.
It's smart of her not to back down from that because she doesn't want to make it a fact.
Yeah.
That's smart. Because that's what would end up happening. She would make it a fact. See? Serena couldn't even beat a guy, You don't want to have that kind of firepower, behind it. So she's smart to back down.
And that's kind of where...
And gracious to admit it.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's one thing to want to have like friendly play with a different gender, just to see where you're at,
Mhm.
where you're aware that that's what the game is about. But like, nobody wants to be competitive for that long and then be beaten like that all the time. It just wouldn't be fun. And that's why we don't have one category. It's why it's always been split. And it's not that I don't understand that, if I wanted to be another gender, but in all honesty, I would cheer for the trans woman who went against the men, because at least then it would kind of feel like having a woman going against the men, even though it still wouldn't be a woman going against the men.
Did you hear about that, the deadlift record? Did you hear about that? It just happened the other day.
Yeah, I know.
There was
It's from my province.
Was it?
I didn't know about the recent one, but I know Zuby, like a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
yeah,
said,
Zuby did it
I
too.
identify as a woman, lifted the weight, dropped it, and said, I no longer identify as a
But
woman.
he was kidding around. There was no one there to. He had it on camera, but he didn't. This wasn't done officially. The one that was done a day or two ago, that was done officially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, Jen, it happened in Canada. Do you know the details on it?
So I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, he just basically was like, yeah, well, I identify as a woman. And he came in burly, bearded, and then the one who did it before had to watch him do it.
Yeah, the trans person who was there before him, who had set the record at 275, had to sit there and watch him break it. He lifted 345.
Jesus.
I know. I mean, he looked like a professional. He looked like he should have been at the Olympics.
I actually, I was a little bit disappointed, because if I was there, I would have been encouraging him to do more, to keep going, like to keep putting the weights on so that he could completely destroy it. And it's not because I don't understand the frustration of the women, but it's because I want them to understand the difference.
Make it as drastic a difference as possible, to really highlight how much of a difference there really is.
Because
a Thompson situation where he won by like a full lap.
Because it's not that I don't want to support people doing their own thing, but like, listen, I have other examples. Caitlyn Jenner is one.
Yeah,
and she herself has said that she wouldn't have raced as a trans woman. It wouldn't have been the same. The competition wouldn't have been the same. Her want to win wouldn't have been the same.
I think the solution to trans athletes is pretty simple. If you are now or ever have been a male-identified individual, you play against men. So regardless of which direction you transition, you play against men.
Caitlyn Jenner has started a new company, I guess, or a new organization to fight against women in sports. Pretty amazing stuff.
And listen, I get the part of the problem is, well, we have one team now who was full on trans men, so maybe it is possible.
I'm sorry, trans people in sports. And
to just start, it might end up being a third and a fourth thing, because obviously you're going to still have your differences, but I get that's expensive and maybe you might not get all the funds that you want for it, but that's what I would do. And I think you would get more support from both sides if you did that, because it's less causing harm to both sides, and I don't mean the adults that are doing this, because the adult men doing this, I think, are half playing a lark. It's like I said to Lisa, I think some of these people are fake trans. Some of them might be real trans. I know I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose people, but some of them are probably faking it because they want to have a better score. But it's the kids that I'm a little bit concerned about, because kids won't know if they're trans until later. Let's be real. They might think they're trans and then later be like, nah, it was a phase.
But Dr. Funkenstein /Tier, I misread it, but he's making the same point that I just made, which is decimate doesn't actually mean that. It means reduce by 10%.
But while there's kids who might be into that kind of thing, they should come up with their own teams for that. I don't know. I don't know what else to say with that one, because I think half the trans kids are their parents pushing it on them. So I don't know. But I say that with the thinking that kids let alone adults, barely know how to hold themselves back. You know, so I'm sorry, I don't see young men really holding themselves back, even if they do think that they're female. It's just not something I see happening, because men are a little bit more, when you're in competition mode, you're in competition mode. Women get that way too, but men are a little bit different, like, you know, and when you're a young person and Lord forbid your parents are giving you medication for it, I couldn't imagine your emotions being out to whack in the middle of a sports field with girls. Yeah, somebody's going to break bones and it's going to be accidental, you know, and that's stupid. That's just stupid.
I see Kefki joined us over on Rumble.
She did.
Oh, she did?
Hugs.
Yeah. Hi, Kefki. How are you doing, sweetie? Y'all are talking about pizza. We should be talking about pizza.
We should.
Well, I think that the time has indicated that we probably need to wrap up if you guys need to take care of stuff tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired. And Jen's got to get to work, so we should probably get out of here. I want to spend some time talking to Kefki, though.
Yeah, she's cute.
You can still do that. I'm just letting you know that we get the time.
Maybe on the tweeters, on the twatters. All right, we can get out of here. That's fine. Before we go, if anybody can identify tonight's outro song, I will shout you out on our next show. Extra points if you can identify the movie it's from. No Googling. Send your guesses to me on Twitter at theonetonhammer. You got 15 minutes. Good luck. So, thanks, fam, as always, for chatting with us tonight. If you can't wait for the next Wednesday's show, remember, the Minions are live every evening, including weekends, with most shows starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Hosts and start times are listed in the description down below. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. Don't forget about the Rumble pre-show. I promise to start on time next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight, and we'll see you again next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.